Welcome back to Mystara, everybody, as we're continuing to look at the last Red Steel source books with the Orc's Head Peninsula PDF. This was an unreleased book that was written in 1996. It was going to be part of a box set that died when the TSR killed off the line. Fortunately, TSR did release the first book as far as a PDF. The Vaults of Pandios got it and turned it into this. Then they posted it free online for everybody to download, which TSR had done originally, but when they went away, so did the original link to the PDF. There's a link in the description below so you can download the book, and I highly recommend that you do. I'm Mr. Welch, and let's check out the wilder part of the Savage Coast in the Orc's Head Peninsula book. The book, as I mentioned, was originally written in 1996 by Nikki Rhea, who also did the Book of Layers and a large number of books for White Wolf and their World of Darkness line. The cover art is a photo bash by some unnamed author, and there's no interior art except for a single piece at the start of each chapter that has no artist attributed. There was supposed to be an adventure book that was included in the box set, but this isn't included in the PDF. I don't know if that book was ever released on PDF at all. After the line was killed, somebody at TSR made the decision to take this book, turn it into a PDF, and put it out on their website. But then TSR was bought by Wizards, and then the PDF was never seen again until the Vaults of Pandios put it up back in 2006. It shows that this was kind of cobbled together from the original ones because there's no interior art at all. The book is mostly about the non-human tribal lands found in the southwestern Savage Coast, far from the ravages of the Red Coast, with the exception of a few small slivers of cursed regions. The book avoids the problems of the Savage Baronies by not repeating itself, which was a major problem with its predecessor. Each of the areas in Orc's Head was mentioned in Red Steel, but they really didn't go into much detail on, say, the winged minotaurs, winged elves, or the man-scorpions. In Orc's Heads, they jump in with both feet. Of the regions discussed, only a small area is populated with humans, and that's a prison camp by one of the baronies where they dump convicts to die. Though the peninsula does include the Aranea nation of Harath, since the nation was covered in the main box set, the book doesn't talk about it except for in passing in other sections. There's numerous areas covered, with the first being the land of the Wallara, which is a fantasy take on Australia. The Wallara are the fantasy version of the Aborigine, or the Koori, according to my ex. This is where I should put up a picture of my Australian girlfriend from college. Hi, Lisa. Because I don't have any pictures of her because she didn't like to have her picture taken because it either stole her soul or made her look fat, depending on when I was trying to take the picture. I'm just going to put up some picture I found at the internet at random. Wallara are a single sex race. Every Wallara is male, and they mate by taking their molted skins to a temple, and the immortals turn the skin into an egg if they wish to bless an individual Wallara. Their culture has a large focus on symbolism. Their internal wars are nothing more but rituals with almost no bloodshed. They are very superstitious and tend to be left alone by the other cultures. The reason for them being isolated has little to do with their military strength. They're not really much of a threat to anybody, but the sheer lethality of their lands keeps people at bay. There are large swaths of their territory that is hostile to life. It's based on Australia, after all, the only nation on Earth with its own section in the Death World entry on TV tropes. The Wallaras have a rich and tragic history on the Savage Coast, and their history impacts just about everyone else's. They were the only ones to know the true natures of the Aranea on Harath. The spider folk didn't like anyone to know their secrets, even the benevolent Wallara that bore them no ill will. At that time, the Wallara were just as advanced technologically as other races, but the Aranea cast a spell on them that was supposed to wipe the chameleon men's memory of the true nature of the spider folk. It backfired and erased their knowledge of everything back to the Stone Age. Since the Wallara are distantly related to dragons, their patron immortal is the Great One, Lord of all dragons. He didn't take messing with his worshippers lightly, so he unleashed every dragon in the area on the Aranea, no matter if the dragons were chromatic, metallic, or gemstone. He sent all the dragons he could get to level Harath. Cooler heads talked the Great Old One out of committing genocide, but just barely. Now the Wallara are just beginning to rebuild their culture, starting with reclaiming one of their lost cities. The nation of Jabari is occupied by the Fannettons, and in a role reversal from the Isle of Dread, they hunt the Aranea for food and sport. Well, giant spiders, but the Fannettons don't know the difference between the Aranea because they're just so secretive. There was a war between the two, but the Fannettons' use of guerrilla tactics and poison blowguns kept it pretty one-sided. These Fannettons are lawful in nature, but they are very much more savage than their Isle of Dread kin. They have a habit of putting shrinking heads on those who piss them off on outside of their territory to let people know what happens to those who cross them. In their past, the Aranea kept the Fannettons as pets, and now the Fannettons hunt the Aranea for sport. These guys are the bitterest of enemies in an area featuring a lot of different species to hate. Another bad guy nation is Namure and its resident man-scorpions. The Namurans are a cursed race because of their betrayal of the Induks, or the winged minotaurs. Because of their apparent genocide of the original race of the area, the immortal Ixion cursed the man-scorpions to burn in the light of the sun. Not like the Schattenelfen of the Hallow World, where you take a point of damage every hour or so. I mean the Namurans go up like kindling when exposed to direct sunlight. Ixion doesn't mess around when handing out curses. The man-scorpions can get around this by wearing more makeup than Tammy Faye Baker, as well as heavy clothing and armor. Their curse has driven them largely underground, and because of that, their exoskeletons tend to be translucent, and another feature they tried to hide from the other races. The nation of Namure is mostly underground. The man-scorpions live under cities that are located beneath the ziggurats that they're famous for. There's several that live above ground, and the Numurans are trying to encourage other races to migrate to their nation to do the above-ground work that the man-scorpions are physically unable to perform. The book gives an out for players that want to be man-scorpions by lifting the curse for the heroic types, though they do lose the deadly poison as well, but they get a sleeping poison to replace that. The Numurans are one of the only races in the area with a standing army, but because of their curse, they can't actually invade anyone. It's hard to invade somebody when getting a glass of water thrown in your face causes your head to explode in flames. This book doesn't go into detail on the curse. That's actually in the next book, but I'll spoil it and give it to you because I'm pretty sure you're curious. If a man-scorpion is found in direct sunlight without the protective makeup or heavy armor or clothing, they take 1d6 plus 3 fire damage a round. 10 minutes of constant exposure, which is a turn in 2nd edition, causes the man-scorpion to explode and die, no save. In addition, their dexterity and morale drops to 3 because it's hard to stay in a fight when your face is on fire, and it's hard to move around because you're running around screaming, again because your face is on fire. And Ixion doesn't play around with what he determines sunlight. So if they're out in darkness and it's reflected moonlight off of, say, the moon, they take D3 hit points of damage around, and their dexterity and morale get halved. To the south is the Dark Jungle, which, as the name suggests, is a region of extremely thick plant growth, populated by numerous tribes of orcs that are all hostile to other races, and they really don't get along themselves. What sets them aside is they're united under a single leader, a vermilion dragon called Pyre. When a red dragon suffers the red curse, it can avoid the worst parts by eating a massive quantity of Cinnabril. This creates a vermilion dragon. This gives the dragon all the powers of the curse, but none of the drawbacks. To say Pyre is one of the deadliest creatures in Mystara is stating the obvious. While the orcs might be standard monsters, Pyre has numerous legacies from the red curse, and even has an artifact in place of its eye that turns people into ebony. Good luck taking him down. The book does go a little off-map by talking about the areas near the Arm of the Immortal, a massive peninsula to the west of the Orc's Head. Here live the ER and the Induk, the winged elves and the winged minotaurs. These were discussed several times in the Red Steel box, but they didn't get any rules, and this book changes that. The ER are the elves. They're fragile creatures, not trusting of outsiders. Considering they don't take damage at all very well with their fragile and flammable wings, it's not a surprise. The ER don't get a lot of background in the book, but considering how much they were mentioned in Red Steel, it's nice to have something about them. The Induk get even less discussion, except to say that they are a very religious and pragmatic people. Because of their betrayal by the man-scorpions, they are very distrustful and only keeping the company of the ER. They're isolationists and spend most of their lives in study and religious worship. They aren't known for their imaginations, and their cities are dull and have predictable architecture. The book does give stats for Shazox, Gorosh, and Kamos, which are lizardmen, gatormen, and K-men back in the known world. These races have their own small nations, but aren't covered much in the Orc's Head Peninsula book. Shazox are your stock lizardmen. They're tough and they're resourceful, but they're not very bright. Gatormen are hulking brutes that go berserk in combat if they're injured or get angry. And Kamos are the size of halflings, but they are brave almost to the point of being foolhardy. There's a few other territories, but mostly are just additional orc tribes or lands so hostile nobody lives there at all. The exception is the Colony of the Horn, which is a penal colony that's considered one of the worst places to live on the planet. It's set up by Texiarius to get rid of undesirables, both prisoners and guards. As they largely come from lands affected by the Red Curse, and Cinnabril can't be found in the Orc's Head region, they get to mutate and suffer. The guards get clerical help to remove the curse, but not the prisoners. This is not a nice place to live or visit. The book is crammed with background, and it doesn't repeat itself like the Baronies did. I don't know if the adventures that were supposed to come with it ever got turned into a PDF, and there's no map at all, but Thorfinn Tate did create one. If you want the book, go to the link I provided in the description and download it. TSR put this book up as well as the Monster Manual for free, so don't worry about piracy. You can also download the Orange Palace of the Silver Princess. There's no reason not to get the book. Yes, it's for 2nd edition, and few people play Mystara in 2nd edition, but ignore that because it's got a lot of background information and doesn't cost you a penny. Next week is the Red Steel Monster Manual. It's on par with the Dark Sun Monster Manual for just how messed up monsters can be. Where Dark Sun is a hostile world designed to kill characters, the Savage world is filled with all sorts of cursed and mutated abominations that love to kill characters. When every living creature in the setting can mutate, you are dealing with some pretty messed up monsters. So until next time, if you're ever dating an Australian, remember never take her father to Outback Steakhouse.